I grew up an independent fundamental Baptist, and I'm looking into my beliefs more, and I'm trying to find a term for what I believe in. And the closest thing I can find is an agnostic contemporary deist, because I believe in a God, but I know that you can't prove or disprove that a God exists, as far as I know. There's no tests that can be actually demonstrated to prove or disprove that. So I guess it's based on faith for me at this point. Would you agree with that?
It depends on your God. There are some very, very specific things that some people say about their deities, and you can test those. There are some people who really, truly believe in intercessory prayer, and that's been tested. There are people who believe in miracle healings, and you can test for that.
But there is a specific claim here, right? Because, so I get, belief is different than knowledge. I get that, and I'm down with that. So you describe yourself as an agnostic deist. You started out by saying you feel like the question can't be answered at this time. So why do you feel a need to subscribe a belief to it without just getting better information?
I think that just judging the possibility of a God existing or not, at this point, I can't rule that out.
But why would you then believe it, right?
If
I can't rule out Bigfoot existing, I don't say, okay, well then I guess I should believe Bigfoot exists.
The way I approach that problem is by asking myself, if a God did exist, what would the qualities of that God be? And I try to answer that question and see if there is a God out there that, what would it be like?
And you're saying that you have identified such a God?
I don't think I have. I have identified things that God can't be.
But you're saying that you believe, they're describing you as an agnostic deist. And I'm interpreting that to mean that you accept it as true that a God exists. Am I misinterpreting you?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if I would say it's true. I just say that I believe in such a thing because I choose to, if that makes any sense at all.
I don't understand.
I'm trying to not prove it, but I'm trying to prove it for myself, or
I can understand that.
Back up my faith with logic. Yeah.
I mean, I can understand wanting to demonstrate, like if somebody comes and claims something to me, if I'm interested in it, I can see me wanting to, prove the claim, like saying, okay, well then what would prove this claim? Let's see. Let's test this thing. Mm-hmm. I can't see why I would believe it before I run the testing.
That's the process that I'm in at this moment, is I'm trying to determine what that is and if I can believe it or not,
Okay.
I guess I'm starting from the other end, because I began my beliefs as a Baptist, and I'm sort of going away from that. So I'm starting from that point of view.
Okay, I understand what you're talking about, and I totally relate because I went through the same process.
I thought I heard you talk about that in a previous show, and so it worked out really well that you're here.
I understand the point you're at. So what is it that you need? What are you looking for? From us, anyway. Because we're not going to help you prove a God exists, so what could you need?
That'd be a cool trick.
Right, yeah. So I think I was trying to figure out, do you guys, this is directed to each of you, I suppose, do you take the position that God does not exist, or do you simply refute the claim that a God does exist?
I refute the claim that a God exists.
And you, Tracie?
I take the position that I can say a God does not exist to the same level of certitude that I could say that a fairy does not exist. So while I cannot prove or disprove the existence of fairies, I accept they do not exist for the same reasons that I would apply to a claim of God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. I think I was trying to figure out, you were asking a question earlier as to why I believe in such a thing if I can't prove it, right?
But I think I understand now why, because you did describe your situation.
I think it's kind of like a placebo, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people believe it because it makes them feel good about themselves or feel good about the possibility of something, And I don't know if it actually has any positive effect, but I think it makes people feel better about what they believe. I suppose. So I guess that's.
I had really strong feelings. Like I had super strong feelings that I had a soul and that a God existed. And when I left the church, that didn't go away, right? So I just felt like there was a God, and I felt like I had a soul. And there was no arguing me out of my feelings, right? That was the problem. And so I went on a journey trying to define what is God, what am I calling God, since I know it's not the Christian God anymore. So what am I calling God? Right. What am I calling my soul? And it was that deep dive into years of trying to figure out what I was talking about, looking at all kinds of pseudoscience, looking at science, talking to people, arguing with people that believed other things, arguing with people that didn't believe anything about God, just kind of running all this stuff, narrowing it down, changing it, redefining it until there was nothing left. And that's what happened to me. Now, I can't say that's what's going to happen to everybody, but you sound like you're in the middle of a similar process. Now, where you're going to end up, I don't know. But
right.
my stuff was tied to feelings. Like I felt like God was, in my life. I don't know if you have that same experience.
I feel like God is kind of a hands-off God.
Okay.
Because I think that if he was omnipotent or omnibenevolent, there would be a different world that we live in today.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So then if the God is that distant, right, and so then, and you're saying that you're hanging on to it and you think it has to do with the way you feel about things in your life, but what kind of comfort does that give you? That he doesn't do anything?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's a comfort as far as, I'm not sure if it's a comfort. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't really know how to explain that feeling. I think it's more of, the way I see it is, if a God did exist, I feel like that he would, or it, or she, or whatever you want to say. I feel like God would want us, some lesser being, to understand him and the place that may have been created, that we live in. But I think that a search for knowledge in that scenario is something that he would.
But wouldn't that entail leaving evidence? I mean, how else would we know God?
I think that that's a good question. I don't know how we could.
Like if I create everything and then I totally block myself off from it and I don't intervene and I don't look at what's going on and I don't care about it at all. How would that translate to me also wanting these beings to acknowledge my hand in this when I'm giving them nothing to go on, literally?
That's a good point. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either. I'm not trying to there's the trap. It's like, no, that's the first thing that pops into my head when you're describing your position.
Matt, that's the best.
Well, that's why I'm calling, I want you guys to point out these types of questions and ideas. I want to, I want my beliefs to be tested, because if there's something that I believe that's false and can be proven to be false, then there's no point in me believing in that.
I would invite you to post to the blog, right? This is Matt. Caller Matt.
Yeah.
I would say post some of this stuff to the blog, because usually 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to say that there's nobody on there that can be brutal, but 9 times out of 10, the people are super cool with callers who are super cool. So if you say, hey, I'm searching, I'm the caller, I was Matt, I'm the one who's trying to work out my beliefs, and here's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm pretty sure that they're going to throw down some challenges, right? Most of them will be respectful challenges. So I'm telling the blog posters right now, be respectful. Matt is being respectful on the call, and I'm sure he'll be respectful on the blog, and you should give him the benefit of the doubt, give him some generous interpretations and give him some honest responses and be kind. And at the same time, Matt, I'm going to warn you that when you post to the blog, it doesn't automatically post your post if you've never posted on our blog before. So you'll have to get that post moderated. So the first time you try to post, nothing's going to happen, but it's only because your post is being held for moderation. The moment it gets moderated, you can post freely after that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. It makes
Okay,
sense.
so I would say go to the blog, kind of think about how you want to define your beliefs, put down sort of, here are the high points of what I believe, and I need some help to sort this out. Like, please tell me, what do you see as like the questions that come up from somebody making the claims that I'm making here, and see what they say.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah, do. I think it'll be a fun experience. I spent a lot of time in forums, and sometimes I felt really beat up after a harsh week or something. But it's like you say, it's the only way to learn sometimes. And I'm doing my best to make sure that they handle you politely and civilly, because we always want everybody to be civil at the blog, but especially when someone is searching and giving an honest set of questions.
For those who don't know, the name of the blog is.
Well, it's the Atheist Experience blog at Free Thought Blog. So it's Free Thought, right? Blogs/AXP, I think is the address for it. They'll probably put it up. And in the meantime, we're not going to Star of India. We're partying at the Free Thought Library tonight. And Matt, does that help you?
Yeah, no, that's good. I appreciate you talking to me. It's difficult to find someone who doesn't get defensive about their beliefs.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to you guys about that.
Hey, I am always open to an honest caller. If you got nothing to prove and you're just calling and you're like, hey, let's have a conversation. Here's what I think. Here's why I think it. Yeah, I don't know why I think that, but thanks for bringing it up. I mean, that to me is the best conversations. Just people that want to have a chat.
Well, that's what I was here for. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you.
Hey, brother.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Yeah, you too.
The most intellectually honest thing to me is to be able to say, I don't know. And when you asked him he just, what, I don't know. That's a good question. Holy moly, stop the presses. That is fantastic.
And did you notice I didn't smack him around? I didn't say like, aha, it's like,
no.
It was like, okay, well, I mean, I'm not here to trap people. I'm here just, you said this thing. It made me wonder about how that works in this regard, and I asked the question. And if you don't know the answer, you're right. You say, I don't know, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. And now, you know what? He can go home and he can think about it. And maybe he'll come up with a reconciliation and say, okay, this is how I'm doing this. Maybe I should have worded it differently, or maybe, but whatever. It'll help him define and redefine his thoughts. Mm-hmm. It's not about proving him wrong or changing his mind, or it's just about he's thinking. He's thinking about his beliefs, and he's thinking about how he wants to define these things, and that's only good. Only good.
Agreed.